Over the past couple of weeks, I had a lot of questions from people regarding verticality of the map and what does it actually mean for Cyberpunk 2077. So today, I will be going over some things that CDPR said about it in the past and also explain how are they planning the city to take the most advantage from the space around you. Welcome back folks, my name is LastKnownMeal, and ever since we learned more about the game, there was one word which kept popping up, and that is verticality. So what does it mean? Usually most maps rely on the horizontal size of the terrain, meaning they make a map and then place objects in it, usually on the same or similar level. So when you see a building inside of a city, it's either inaccessible or you have 2 or 3 levels and that's it. So you don't really go up and down that much, but of course every map has a terrain differences, meaning there will be high altitude like mountains you have to climb, or have a building which has floors going up or down into the ground. So the content is added by making variations on your map, both horizontally and vertically, and just imagine making a flat map, it wouldn't really look good. So has this been done before? Of course, there are many other games which rely on verticality and which sell you their world through verticality, but never on this size. Well, developers said long time ago that in order to really make Night City believable, verticality has to play a huge role. Every time you look at the city itself, you see huge skyscrapers and mega buildings. Those mega buildings, for example, are like a whole separate inner towns, meaning that inside of that you won't only find apartments or offices, but various other shops and services that can be offered to citizens or you as a player. Also, in the world of Cyberpunk, those mega buildings sometimes even have their own gangs inside. If you watched movie Dread, you kinda know what I'm talking about, and I mean the new Dread, where they actually go inside that mega building and they have to walk the floors like to actually get to the objective. There is a whole social structure inside, meaning the higher you are, it kind of represents a status symbol, with the commoners or, well, less fortunate living on the bottom floors. Inside of that same mega building, CDPR said you will be able to find missions, talk to various people, and by my logic, it would mean that a lot of those missions could only be inside of that building. And the only way to achieve that is to make the inside of that building detailed and huge, meaning that you can go into other apartments or visit other places inside of that building. Because if it was an enclosed space with a couple of layers or floors and a couple of rooms, it wouldn't really look good. Also, other buildings that are smaller are going to take advantage from that, and according to CDPR will be filled with things to do. I mean, it is a city after all. Imagine if you just drove around and every mission was either outside or inside a huge building where only 2 or 3 levels are accessible to you. The rest is there to just basically fill the gap. Now, of course, due to the technical limitations, before devs had to do that. Creating one building which has all the floors accessible is a difficult task, especially to make it different and unique and, well, not boring or empty. That's why they set out to try and change that, and the senior concept artist and coordinator Marta Jonkers explained what they actually want to do in this game. The city is really the core of Cyberpunk 2077. We approached it very holistically. We started with very big ideas of the city and then we went into detail and detail and detail. We have an urban planner in the team, for instance, which really helps us with the map and the layout to make the city feel very realistic. We now have this option of vertical exploration that we didn't really have in The Witcher, which was more of a spread out map. We really take advantage of that and we have a lot of ways of going up and down. And I like how they're going with this because it has to make sense. Every single building, every single object in Night City has to make sense. You can't really place a bunch of buildings on the map and say to people, well, they are there built for some reason. Every single building in a sense has to have a story behind it. There needs to be a logic behind it, so it looks like it's a real city, like a planned city, like a city you would visit IRL. And she also continues to add this. Night City is enormous, but we also value quality over quantity. I have to be honest about that. There's a lot to explore, but we would never just make all of these half-empty buildings. We want to make sure that wherever you go, you actually get this high quality of exploration. We really try to make sure that around almost every corner there's something interesting. When you're somewhere, you can already see another thing that might be interesting. So it's really like a puzzle. Actually, when you think about Night City and how we designed it, it's sort of a big 3D puzzle to make sure that stuff stays interesting and not repetitive. And that's where all those details come into place. It also helps that CDPR is keen on pushing their games a lot in content, meaning they don't want stuff to be repetitive. Again, it's really hard to create something of this size and not have anything repetitive, but of course, with variations you can minimize that a lot. You can never remove it, it's impossible, it would take too much time and money, but this allows them, because they have time to work on this game, to really pay close attention to how they build out their map. And for example, it has to make sense, it has to be interesting. There is nothing worse you can do in a game than to go somewhere, explore, especially if the game is relying on exploration, and then find something empty. It's not rewarding and you just don't do it. You just go and start doing quests, because why would I go and explore if there is nothing around me? It also helps because it changes the pace of the game. And look, so far we don't know exactly if every single floor or every single building is accessible, but from what they are saying, this game will rely on that more than anything else they did before. There is also one effect which you can achieve with this. Imagine standing on the ground level of Night City and looking up. It makes you a lot smaller compared to everything else, especially if, let's say, you can go to one level above you, which is already huge, and then there is even more above you, or even go down somewhere in the basement level or, I don't know, sewer level of the city. And through this, they actually want to give you this effect like you are in a real city, because when you are in a real city and when you look at a skyscraper, for example, you know it's huge, and you know it's gonna take you a lot of time to get to the top floor, and that is something I actually want to have in this game. So I hope they actually achieve that, and so far they're definitely aiming for it. Then, as they said, exploration is rewarding, and I'm interested to see how many points of entry they place inside of that building. Let's say if it's going to be possible to access some floors from the fire escape or the regular stairs and elevator. Now again, CDPR is not the first company to utilize verticality. I'm not saying that, but I honestly never saw something of this size to also give you more room to explore up or down, especially in an urban environment. Besides that, it will be interesting how verticality is done in the Badlands, because it's not only buildings that can go up or down, but also the hills around the city and how they are actually utilized. So when you go somewhere up, it's not just an empty terrain with some rocks and dust, there is actually something going around, there is actual content. And look, cities in the future will go up with levels more than extend in horizontal size. So from the subgenre perspective, that has to be justified and make sense. I really hope they succeed in this. We still have 4 months until the game comes out, hopefully. So maybe in the next Night City Wire we might see more of that, who knows. I think someone who played the demo actually said when you go on the top of the building, it really feels amazing when you look down and around the city. It gives you that feeling of actually being up there in the clouds. So this was my 2 cents regarding that. I am bad at explaining things, but maybe this will somehow bring people a clear picture of what they mean by verticality. Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click that like and subscribe button, because it does help a lot. And tell me down below what you think about all of this. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts about basically the city and the layout of the city, and what you think about, you know, buildings having this amount of content. Also join our growing community on Twitter and Discord, and I made a Patreon page. If you were looking for an extra way to support the channel, you can do it through there, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out, and stay classy everyone. Bye bye.